welcome to the Doctors Are In. We had a little technical difficulty, but that's just the way the world we live in. Sometimes it's technical and sometimes it's difficult. You put the two together, you got technical difficulty. We are in the midst of some alarming times. And I wonder if our eyes are open as to what's going on behind the scenes. And we're at one of those times to where if we are true followers of the Christ, followers of Jesus, we need to exercise what we understand as discernment. And not get sucked in to something that doesn't even pertain to us.
Oh my.
We can find ourselves just sucked in, and there we are going down a rabbit hole that was not designed for us to fit in. And then we wonder why we feeling so discombobulated after we've had the scrimmage. It's because we're in places that we should not have had our behind in the first place. We have got to exercise discernment and choose, watch this, Dr. Brown, and know your battles. You gotta know. You gotta know your battles. So my opening statement, and we're going to build around it, and that is this: why in the world are we squabbling and fighting over white man's energy? Why are we doing that? And we're going to explain all this tonight as to what the real deal is and how we've been bamboozled by allowing ourselves, our energy, our African spirituality, come on, talk to me, to be sucked in. And if we allow our spirituality to be sucked in, then it's like what Jesus said, it's like a candle put up under a bushel basket. It doesn't give any light to anybody. And so let's not get bamboozled. Let's not get sidetracked. So those are my opening remarks. Dr. Brown.
It's very simple, Dr. Gardner and Dr. Hyman. I say to every listener, know yourself as inseparable from God. The highest wisdom is self-realization, knowing the self, the soul, as what I would say essentially or eternally inseparable from God. Know yourself.
Know yourself. Okay.
Think, affirm, realize your divine nature. And I really push that on my sisters because they are so divine and they got to realize it. They don't have to have somebody to affirm them. Affirm yourself with the divine that's within you. And as you talking about this dynamic took place on my show this past Saturday, they were calling in from all over the country.
I know.
And one brother, one friend of mine, he uses another name. He called Don the Baptist, and he said, Doc, leave that mess alone. That's not our problem. Leave that alone. I mean, and the way he said it, and I said to myself, right on. He said, leave it alone. He said, that's them. He said, because if we get in it and start giving interpretations, that will co-opt us, and then they'll start killing us. And I know that's right. And then I did listen to our brother, and all of a sudden his name had left the moral program. He was in Birmingham. What's his name? The moral Jesus.
Oh, you talking about poor man's thing, the poor man's
Yeah.
Barber.
Barbara, there you go. Thank you.
William Barber.
Yeah, he
William
was in Birmingham, and it was kind of impressive to me because I was in Birmingham the time that those girls got killed. So I had to turn around and run to Selma, and we started a march.
Mm-hmm.
But Barbara pushes one point that we in the Black experience, we have got to be the leaders in nonviolence. And that's a tough one. Even that's a tough one. I'm looking at the bishop's face. Yeah. We've got to embrace nonviolence.
Yeah, that came up, and I was in a clergy meeting.
How's that working for y'all?
Just like the expression you gave, they said, Brown, here you go. You trying to take us back in 61, 62.
That didn't work for us either.
I said,
nonviolent. They weren't nonviolent.
Oh, they're not going to be nonviolent.
It's in their nature.
Well, but is violence in our nature?
Yes.
It ain't in mine.
Yeah, it is. It's in the nature of every living creature. It is
so
instinctive.
If it's in the nature,
it is instinctive in terms of defending yourself and your children.
Now,
or your people.
Is the spiritual nature of the divine violent?
Don't know. According to your Bible, it is.
Oh, yeah, but it was violent men writing it.
Oh, wow. Oh, no. Why'd you push him there? Oh, God.
I love it. I love all of it. I just, I don't know. I have a question mark there. I know civil rights, we were raised in that. Maybe that's part of the burning house. I don't know. That Martin said he believed he feared he let his people in because we have been nonviolent except towards our own primarily. This is how they've gotten by with everything because they know we're not going to retaliate. They think it's docility. But every creature has the propensity to defend. It is wired into the genome. It's wired. It's instinctive for you to protect yourself. But that's been beat out of us. So I don't know. I still have a question mark, Dr. Brown. I used to think that, but now I don't know. That's where I am. I don't know. They are counting on our nonviolence and are expecting any day now, as they release the National Guard, the Army, the Popo on every gathering we have. They are waiting for us to act like them. They are waiting for us to retaliate. It is natural. I'm not suggesting that we go find some way to do it. But I tell you what, you won't have to teach them a lesson but one time. But I have questions as to what nonviolence is, because it was met, and they still show that stuff to keep us ever in remembrance or ever responding to it in fear that we don't care about your nonviolence. We still gonna shoot you. We still gonna hold you down. We still gonna have our rifles. We still gonna do that. And our nonviolence ain't a match for a bullet. I don't know. So I'm saying, this is my individual statement. I don't know.
The bottom line, I just put this in. I didn't make it for a whole conversation. We're supposed to be dealing with something else.
That's my line, Dr. Brown. Once you put it out, you did make it for a conversation. Usually I'm telling y'all that. You see how fast, quickly he gaslit my tail. Usually I'm the one saying, now, brothers, let's get on topic. Somebody just put that out. You put it out for a response. And I'm just simply saying my response is, I don't know.
There is a difference between docility and nonviolence, so. Docility is passive, nonviolence is active.
So somebody says, okay, I still say I don't know. Thank you for that tidbit. I still say I don't even know who wrote that, but I don't even know who wrote that. That's just me, y'all, and I reserve the right to say I don't know. I'm still in my evolution on that. And if you would allow me to be in my evolution without making me feel unsafe among you, I'd appreciate it. All right. Now, go ahead on, Dr. Go ahead on. So we be talking divine feminine, but we'll go into that masculine energy in a minute. I didn't say all that for conversation. Okay. Go ahead.
All righty.
Go ahead,
Dr. Gardner, go ahead.
Oh, that's on me. See how y'all do? Y'all
We
ain't right.
always have tricks. We always have to. We would not be the doctors if we did not have tricks.
You see how they just did that? Okay. Pivoting.
Or not. No, because that may be a jump off. Y'all, we got to have a little fun. And a little tension is good. Or not. That may be a jump off point. I mean, it really may be a jump off point. I don't know if we need to pivot it. If he dropped it, it's probably relevant. It's probably relevant to this whole thing. I can make it fit now. You know me. This is the divine feminine. You ready for me, Dr. Brown?
I'm ready.
All right. We can make this fit. We really can. Even in terms of nonviolence, if we take that approach as an active strategy. I just don't think it's always the only strategy. When you ain't got but one strategy, you already defeated. I guess that's where my angst is a little bit.
Right.
But if we take this as a strategy, then where this bickering is concerned, where we're not, brethren, we're not in the white folks conversation because we're not invited to that table. But we have redirected and displaced our violence, whether it is by pulpit, whether it is by fingers, whether it is by social media. We have directed our hostility and our aggression towards each other in a bitter battle about whether this is a martyr, whether this is a Christian martyr, whether we should grieve, whether we should celebrate. And I mean, we're going at it like this. And perhaps if we took an ancestral strategy of nonviolence, even towards each other and towards the issue, then maybe we could, kind of smooth some of this out and discern what it is that we really should be trying to learn, or what all of this is showing us.
Discern what we're trying to learn. That's worth repeat. Discern what we are trying to learn. Okay.
And what we need to learn.
Yeah.
So that's why I said I don't know that we, I don't know that we have to pivot away from it. I think it does have some relevance.
Let's just go deeper in.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is, there's
took his glasses off.
Sometimes the way out.
Come on, Dr. Brown, come on.
Go ahead.
Sometimes the way out is to go deeper in, and rightly so, because we're evolving, huh? And we'll be the first to say we don't have all the answers, but we do have some clues, and we do have some breadcrumbs that we're choosing to follow. Mm-hmm. And we do what discernment that we are operating from is whether or not we should be involved in a battle that's not ours.
Right. This ain't even our stuff. Here's the joke, gentlemen. The joke is this. Truth be told, and I said this Sunday night. As my mama say, I ain't taking back what I said. The joke is this. Most of us, if we tell the truth, never even heard of this man before he got shot and before
Boom.
they made it very public.
Boom.
Most of us never even heard the name. Some maybe briefly in passing because they saw something. But for the most part, many of us did not know who Charlie Kirk was. So why are we becoming so venomous and vitriolic and vicious towards one another? There's a pathology among our people being revealed that's a little different than the pathology that's being revealed of the oppressor.
Okay. Never heard of him. I mean, yeah.
See
it?
All of us had never heard of him before, or just briefly in passing, but really didn't know who he was. Let's see it in the chat.
Yeah, if you never heard of him, put it in the chat. Right, never heard of him. Never. Never heard of him.
Okay. I'm just saying.
The point has been proven. So why are we jumping on the bandwagon and get our emotions all riled up? Don't you know that's classic bamboozlement? We're doing exactly what was it. It's a distraction on steroids.
See,
It's
in.
Making us dilute. My psychologist there, she knows it's making us be delusional.
Look at it.
So
it's still coming in. See, look.
Never heard him.
Look.
And they've created a story of this dynamic young man, and we become delusional or illusional.
Please look at these. They're still coming in.
Yeah.
Never.
See it? They still coming in, y'all.
Never heard of him.
Y'all see this?
Yeah.
See? And so we jumped in on something that's not even our stuff.
It's not our stuff.
And we can continue, my brothers, to exercise psychological, emotional, spiritual violence on one another over stuff that ain't even ours.
Over stuff that ain't even ours. Even the
including doctrine and belief.
Look, to the point, I mean, even James spoke loudly. The book of James spoke loudly about the tongue was an unruly evil full of deadly poison. And, and we can see the poison that's being spewed from one side to the other on issues that we weren't even involved in. I mean, so choosing your battles, picking your battles is a wise thing to do. Why should I go? It's just like, why should I go out there if somebody getting beat up there's a fight going on down the road? Let me put it like this. How many times have you seen a person that went to put out a fight wind up getting beat up and killed himself?
See?
Wasn't supposed to be there, trying to calm it down, and then wind up losing his own life because he trying to be a good neighbor, trying to do what he thought was the right thing. Choose your battles.
This is what Dr. Brown said early on. While we doing all this, you might end up getting ourselves. Come on.
Leave it alone. That's that military experience of Dr. Gardner.
Oh no, here we go.
Here we go.
he peeped it.
Leave it alone.
Yeah.
We've got to work on us.
That's it.
We've got to work on us. I mean, if it's anything, it's a clarion call for us to work on us.
Absolutely.
We need to accelerate working on us.
Yes, because I think we keep falling for this in our Christianity. We keep falling for anything that's got a Christian bent to it. We jump on it like somebody taking our children from us. And we start fighting one another vehemently, taking sides. Some people, and I understand psychologically a lot of it. I understand those people who say, well, we don't condone. And I had to admit this to Dr. Gardner today. But we don't condone violence. We don't condone, this is all white folks' language, but we don't condone the taking of another life. You know, I would never condone that. And I said, you know, by principle, I say that. I wouldn't want to be the person taking the bullet, and I wouldn't want to be the loved one of the persons who have to do it. I done been connected to that too many times. But even as I said it, I told him I had no affect. There was no passion. This is what I know by principle, but my passion is not tied to it. And I understand those who don't have a impassioned empathy. I understand that, because when you look at a people whose hope has been deferred in terms of justice for over 400 years, and whose blood has no inherent value in this country and other countries, you can understand why they may be a little emotionally distant from this. Okay? Psychologically, it makes sense. We cannot be insensitive to the ravishing, long-term, generational effects of injustice and the amount of our blood that reeks through the soil and through the waters of this nation. We cannot be far removed from that. If we are far removed from that, it is the way that we have psychologically dissociated from it, because we don't have any skill or any tools to handle that kind of trauma, whether it is ancestral trauma that has traveled through the DNA epigenetically, whether it is vicarious trauma, because we are still village and tribal people. Some of that's still in us. So when they show us the Trayvons, they keep showing it over and over. They keep showing the knee on the neck over and 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 over. This on the news. All right. When we get to the news with this one, when the shot does this, the camera freezes. Now the people on social media is showing all of it. Okay. But the cameras froze. All of that stuff, we're being programmed and we're being conditioned. And so, you know, we kind of been conditioned for the violence. But there's also something pathological in some of us to exalt whiteness to the level almost of divine nature.
No.
So that even we put more value on a young white body than we put on our bodies. That shows another kind of pathology. I mean, you could just see the stuff everywhere. And the people who are saying, ding dong, the witch is dead, good enough for you. Okay, that's a little extra, but you also understand these people are saying, finally, you showing yourselves, finally. And then there are those of us who have this ambivalence because we cannot handle the dissonance, the cognitive dissonance of being Christianly connected to it, ancestrally connected to this, and the social justice piece of us, those of us that have a thing for justice, and being outraged at the way whiteness and maleness and patriarchy has been elevated as a Christian virtue. And so we got a whole lot of different things going on psychologically. So I think we need to have a little mercy for those on every side of the camp, because psychologically we can kind of see that the pathology, this is what I'm saying, the pathology among us is far deeper than we think, and it is shrouded in religion. It is shrouded to the extent we are throwing scriptures at one another to condemn one another about how we feel, thus making us hypocritical and making the whole nation hypocritical by saying you should not be bothered, injured, killed for your political values or your political beliefs. But we are firing teachers who are saying something about it. We are calling here for their licenses who are saying something about it on social media. We are calling for the resignation of one of our school board members who said, hey, back in my day, people did kind of get glad when the Nazi got killed. Okay, that's back in her day. That's her experience. All right. So we are on the one hand saying and preaching from pulpits that you should not be shot for your words and your beliefs when we've been shot, raped, killed, all of it, for all of it ever since we've been here. And on the other hand, when people speak against what you're trying to propagate, now you want to crucify them economically, crucify them publicly, and make them resign and leave jobs. They literally want to take people's teaching license so they can't teach no more. It is hypocrisy. It is violent because on the one hand, we're saying this should happen, and then we are the executors. We are the crucifiers, and we are the assassins to those that don't agree with us. And so we need to see the pathology in all of it and find means and strategies for us to transcend it because it ain't our stuff.
It ain't our stuff.
The man of God say, leave it alone.
It ain't our stuff. Finding strategies to transcend it.
Yes.
Or what's that word we talked about, Dr. Brown, the other day? On the other spectrum of sendence is inscendence, going within. Either we can transcend or we can go within.
Well, you got to go within in order to transcend.
Transcend. Yeah.
There you go. So inscendence is a precursor to transcendence. Inscendence first, then transcendence next. Okay.
We need to transcend it and really discern what's going on here. Why are they making a martyr out of a non-politician, a non-political figure, a non-government official? Why are they calling it an assassination of a non-political figure, of a non-governmental figure? How do we put those words with it? Oh, he's a Christian. No, he's not. He is absolutely, historically, a Christian.
And he was murdered. That's not a word they use. He was murdered.
He was murdered.
He was murdered.
Not martyred, murdered.
Murdered.
Hear the difference. What was that you said, Dr. Brown? He was what?
Murdered.
He was murdered. I think y'all heard something in the spirit that got conflated, and you heard murdered and took it to martyred. But it does not, the person and what they were doing does not, by definition, that don't even really fit. So we need to see what is this behind and underneath that is causing them to get flags at half staff, that is causing it to get presidential endorsement, that's going to get the president to speak at the funeral. This ain't a politician. This ain't an officer. This ain't a president or a governor or a lieutenant governor or a vice president or a senator. What is underneath this, and what are we missing in our Christian violence and arrogance and religious pride towards one another?
Well, violence has been part of Christianity for hundreds of years.
You better go back more than hundreds, honey. Not hundreds, thousands.
Okay.
Thousands. We can take this back to the 1st and 2nd century.
Yeah, 2,000 years. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? We can take this back to the violent assassination and martyrdom of Yeshua by the white Roman Republic Empire. That's how far back this goes.
You know, what would be, go ahead, Doc.
The pathology. On the radio, they said, Brown, I said, isn't it amazing? While I was in seminary years ago, some of the most profound preachers would say, Tommy, you got to go to the cross in your sermon.
That's right.
You got to preach. You got to, and some of those guys that dress up that killing and how Jesus dropped it and all of that. And I kept saying, I can't go there. That violence does not really gives me and people would shout, that violence doesn't give me something to shout about. And that our language gives a lot of energy to violence. And it's in our religion.
It's in our religion. I mean, you know, the crusade.
For me, I don't even go to the cross in the sense of a close. I will explain what that dynamic is, but I move to the resurrection and work with the resurrection because everyone here can be resurrected. Because right now, some of you are bearing crosses. That's my that was my craziness.
Well, I said this, Dr. Brown. I said this today to my spiritual dad, my mentor, Dr. John Kenny. I said today, Dad, let me tell you something. Every first Sunday, every third Sunday, whichever Sunday we do communion, every Easter, every Good Friday, we celebrate bloody, gruesome, heinous injustice and violence. Our whole religion is built on violence, is built on injustice. And we said, the Lord did it. We have a bloodthirsty God that requires the same blood he put in all of the living things, creatures, that he has to have blood and violence in order to be satisfied. Our whole everything is about the violent nature and the unjust assassination of an innocent man. And to the point of tears and falling out and crying, and we don't even know that we are triggering a trauma response for years of violence.
A trauma response.
Yes, for years of violence and blood of our people, all the way back to Yeshua, that has been unrequited. It is blood that has never been accounted for, never paid for, never nothing. And so for us, that continues to desensitize us to violence against us, because our whole religion is based on the assassination, the blood, the whipping, the lynching, the hanging on the tree, the piercing, the mocking of an innocent God man. And so it conditions us for docility. But in the psyche, there's a hostility that we don't know what to do with. So we psychologically dissociate and put all these things in compartments. I'm telling you, it's something wrong with this picture.
You know, and I was chuckling. How do you think they would feel when they would actually go back and find out that this Christ figure was actually a black man that was crucified? Do you think that it would be as vehement about their stance once they realize that the Christ and the Christian that they say that they are part of was really a black man? I'm just saying.
We're going to have a problem with a black man that we have exalted as God. They're going to have a problem worshiping a black man. And do we realize that this melanated man, in conjunction with how the writers wrote it, with the religious aristocracy, if you will, the religious bourgeoisie.
That's a good one.
In conjunction with the white empire. The white empire hung a black man. Yeah. It's still the spirit of this nation. That's why we have a 21-year-old kid hanging from a tree that they talking about no foul play, according to what you were discussing with me today, and his extremities are broken. See, it's the same. We still don't get it. That Greco-Roman spirit is the spirit that this country was founded on. And it's in the laws, it's in the architecture, it is in the precepts, it is in the artwork, it is in the religion, it is in the educational system. I'm still trying to understand why in high school, and maybe they don't have to do it now, but in high school, we had to do Macbeth, we had to do Antigone, we had to do, what's the one about the love story? Y'all know the one about the love story. Okay. Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
now, when the Pointer Sisters got it, they said Romeo and Juliet, doom, doom, doom. Samson and Delilah. They had to put some black folks in it. All right. But why are we learning black children, white children, Hispanic? Why are we learning about Greek mythology? Even though we don't know it is infused in the Greek translations of the scriptures in the New Testament that we have. It is infused. But why do we need to learn Greek mythology? Why is it all over the country in the architecture of our municipalities and our government? Why do we have, we got one here, we have one in Norfolk, we got the Norfolk Scope, but we had, we got here the Richmond Coliseum. It's everywhere. Coliseums came out of Grecian periods where they would have violent sports. Why is our one goal to be an Olympiad? And nobody got no problem when we are lighting those Grecian torches. We don't even understand that the whole Olympics from the god Olympus came out of Greekdom, Greek culture.
Whoa. Did you just say that wait a minute, that Olympia was a god that they worship, and here we are playing with their God?
Yeah, they want all of us to renounce all of the community service and educational stuff that the Divine Nine are doing. We don't even see the agenda there to get you educated people to get from under it so that you are not empowering your own community. They say denounce that, but here we are lighting fires. We even had Muhammad Ali with his Parkinson's lighting the flame. Olympics is all about competition and winning, and all of this. It is infused in everything, and we can't see it. That's why we are. If you the more deeper entrenched in this, quote, Christianity you become by law, the more violent, exclusive, intolerant, and rigid psychologically and cognitively you become, until you almost can't use the brain that God gave you because it is encaged in the indoctrination and the miseducation and all of it. And there's a visceral fear of thinking outside of that box, because outside of that box, you're going to be assassinated. You're going to be excommunicated. You're going to be weaponized as a tool against Christianity. You're going to be ousted. So there's a fear of even thinking because of the violent nature of the empire.
All right. Dr.
Oh,
Brown.
my sister has done an excellent job. But I kind of laughed because some years ago, I heard some other dynamics, and I just said, you all don't realize democracy is a demon.
Oh, no.
Democracy is a demon.
See, and we don't realize this, Dr. Brown. Democracy came from Greece.
Thank you.
Republic. Rome became a republic. So while we are rooting ourselves in blue or red, we are rooting ourselves as Democrats for our democracy. This is a strike against our democracy. No, this is an outgrowth of your democracy, because democracy is foreign to God, at least the God of the Bible. All right. And so out of the Greeks, we get democracy. Out of the Romans, we get republic. And so we don't know whether it's democracy or republican. It's Greco-Roman in nature, and we are more tied to that than we are tied to truth and to justice. That's the problem. The foundation of the Lord's throne is justice and righteousness. That's the foundation of the Elohim's throne. That ain't the foundation of the church's throne. The foundation of the church's throne is patriarchy, hierarchy, and the taking and colonization and proselytization of melanated people and melanated lands. That's what Christianity does. It's a history of it.
Wow.
And my proposal, gentlemen, since we got to pivot and Dr. Brown ain't got long to stay with us tonight, praise the Lord, is that we said, I got to slide him in here. We ain't got but a few minutes with him. He said that we need to transcend it. You talked about the need to go in. We've been talking about that for 2 weeks. We go in so that we can transcend. All right. I posit then that as we embrace or look at the divine feminine and our African spirituality, that this divine feminine principle that predates a New Testament, that is evident in Old Testament text, even though they are trying to erase it, is still there. That predates even the Bible. That if we go back to that feminine principle and energy, I heard you say, and it was riveting, that really what we are doing to each other, Dr. Gardner, is really we are taking on white male patriarchal energy. That's the energy we're fighting with. That's the energy we're defending with. That's the energy we're mauling and scratching, and like cats scratching eyeballs out. That's the energy behind what we're doing. I suggest that instead of arguing and instead of going here with something that ain't even got nothing to do with us, and arguing about how we should respond to Charlie Kirk's death that none of us never heard of till he was dead, and its exaggerated national stage, we should draw from this and ask, this is what you said to me on the phone, how do we respond in a way that brings solidarity to our community? How do we respond in a way that honors our ancestors, honors and restores balance rather than amplifies division? If we could start grounding some of this in that divine feminine energy, this grounding frees the prophetic voice from the empire's distractions. This grounding frees the prophetic voice from the empire's threats and limitations. African-centered spirituality reminds us that every soul has divine worth. Every soul, everything got God in it. All right. And so to amplify the death of one polarizing figure while minimizing, see how that thing took me sideways again? I am so sick of it. I am so sick. It always get me when I'm trying to do something. Hold on. There you go. Instead of minimizing countless innumerable black lives is itself a dishonor to the blood of the innocent slain and to those mamas, daddies, sisters, brothers, community who lost them. And it fragments the collective spirit. So by recentering us in the divine feminine, in African principles, Ubuntu, I am because we are, and Sankofa,
Yeah.
going back to retrieve wisdom from the past, preachers, politicians, whoever on Facebook, wherever y'all at, pulpits or otherwise, can resist the bait of the media's manipulation, the bait of the government's manipulation, the bait of white evangelical nationalist that whole, it's bait. It's bait. It's Satan's bait. It's demonic bait. And if we could honor all lives as sacred, the divine feminine presence within this spirituality calls us back to community care, truth telling, and justice rather than reactionary bickering.
You're watching the doctors are in.
Dr. Brown?
You've done a very good job. You know, when I said there is a demon in the democracy and it's driven by capitalism.
Come on here, sir.
And the economics is very, and I will hesitate because the early followers of Jesus were not called Christians. They were called what? People of the way.
The people of the way.
And they did not have a cross as their shield. They had a fish as a symbol. You look at that in depth, and they were what? Communal. I can't talk about communal because there's going to emerge this whole idea that they were bringing everything together. Capitalism is a whole nother ball game. And
it's another ball game.
That's a whole nother ball game. That's part of democracy.
See, we can't even see how this man's death. Let's talk about the real victimization. He's gonna be more in death than he was alive. We know him now. We didn't know him. Yeah. We didn't know him living, but because we're taking the bait and we're just flying into the smoke screen, he's gonna be worth more dead than alive. Now, we kind of need to look at why. And the real victimization is this, and we're missing it. That boy's death is being exploited by the media. It is being exploited by the government. It is being exploited by the church because it's raking in views, money, raking in likes, raking in popularity, thereby raking in money. From Elon's t-shirts to the hats to the MAGA hats on down. His death is being exploited capitalistically. And it is, again, elevating white patriarchy to the top of the hierarchy. And we missing it because we have all this displaced aggression because we don't know what to do with our anger about years of injustice. And so we're redirecting it at each other. You might want to take a look at this. I have not looked this up, but Evangelist Andrea says diamond means divider.
Right. I see it. Right. Divider.
And so we're missing, this is clickbait. This is, we're near midterm bait. This is get me reelected bait. This is exploit this boy's death for our own practical reasons. And we're missing that victimization.
Yeah, we're missing it. And the only people really arguing about this, and I mentioned this to you earlier, is that it's just the Christians. You don't hear these other religions talking about it. You don't hear Hindus. You don't hear, you don't hear Sikhs. You don't hear any of them really talking about it. As if they're the only people that are religious people or Christians in this nation, yet you don't hear none of their voices speaking about this particular issue. It's only a pet peeve of white Christian nationalism that has everybody bamboozled that names the name of Christ as under that umbrella that we should think like that. But you don't hear any of these other voices. You don't hear the Chinese talking about it. You don't hear the Japanese talking about it. You don't hear about any of these other religions or cultures voicing anything about this except the so-called Christians.
And I'm telling you, the worst of them is the tongue-talking Christians.
Oh, wow.
I hope y'all have
He's
seen.
scratching his ear. He's scratching his ear.
Larry put this up, and I saw it. I hope y'all have seen the diatribe, if you will, of doctor with no real doctorate, Rod Parsley. I hope y'all have seen it. I want y'all to look at that, and may you be blessed by it. Amen.
Woo.
All right. Okay.
All right, Dr. Brown has got to exit. Dr. Brown, what say ye? We know you got another thing to do in just a few minutes. What say ye, sir? What can you leave us with?
I would like to leave with, bring you right back to breath. That everything you've said and some of the ideas, people need to become still and silent and breathe in consciously. Really, I'm pushing doing more personal, private meditation.
Okay.
Especially if you are a leader and a teacher. We've got to teach, and we've got to sacrifice in teaching. We're talking it, but what we're talking about is not being taught. So consequently, we have to work at doing that and also teaching in our various churches, more teaching and less shouting.
My.
Oh, boy.
And of course, we need to do more retreating like you do, where you go off and you begin to interact spiritually. Our society's got so many symbols to make you jump around and shout around. But what about the experiences of being still, being quiet at night? Take you 15 or 20 minutes and just go within and focus on the very presence of God in your breath. When you inhale, he's exhaling to you. When you exhale, he is inhaling and sending it back to you, because you can't do nothing without breath.
Can't do nothing without breath.
You can try, but you take away your breath.
My sister can't expound without breath. The Pope can't pontificate without breath. So with my breath, I bid you farewell.
All right.
Okay.
We'll see you next time, sir.
Thank you so much. So Apostle, thank you so much, Dr. Brown. So Apostle, could this teaching could this teaching, and I know it's difficult for many of us to embrace the divine feminine. That thing when you say, I mean, we was pushing it out, scrambling it out, hashing it out until you said, this ain't nothing but white male energy. And I said, wait. That's it. It's the spirit of the religion. It is the spirit of our Christianity. It is the spirit of patriarchal religion. The patriarchal religions will fall under Abraham, and that is Judaism, which Jesus didn't practice, because there wasn't a word then. That word didn't come up to 1500s. there is Islam, and there's Christianity. All trace their roots to a man, a black man at that. They don't even understand. It's a black man. Yeah, it's a black man. But even in that, Father Abraham completely ignores that there would be no seed of Abraham if God had not selected the sacred and divine womb to make a people. To make a people. Now, these people writing their own story in the book. But to make a people, we have completely ignored the womb. By this time next year, your wife will conceive. I'm going to make of you, but your wife will conceive. You're not going to do nothing. Y'all going to do what you've been doing. But by this time next year, your wife will conceive. And so we know, it was Hagar. God said, I'm not going to even curse that. I'm not going to separate that. I'm going to say these two not going to get along because you maybe ain't had no business all this up in here. No way. Yes, sir.
The answer is in the womb.
The answer, oh my, oh my, oh my.
The answer's in the womb.
Now. One of the last things that Mama Victoria said to us after she poured out her libations and gave us her take on African spirituality and the divine feminine at our retreat. She poured that last libation out, and I said, Mama, she had a little ladle from Africa and her little pail of water, and I said, I want to hear the sound of the water hitting the water again. It made a sound that me and Bishop Joel can't get out of our heads. It's something prophetically to that. And as she did that, poured that water, she took the water out with the African ladle. And instead of pouring it on earth, she poured it back in the thing from whence it came. And she pointed to the pail of water and said, go back to the beginning. This profundity of our 84-year-old matriarch has given us a strategy and a principle that goes back to Sankofa, but it also goes back to this concept in John 3. Except a man be born of the water. That is the amniotic sac. Water brought everything here. This is why the ancient Africans believed God was in the water. It was God of the water. The Genesis accounts, plural, from different groups of thought, different people, different times. Those Genesis accounts show us that the Spirit of God hovered upon the face of the waters. There is a correlation with that which is moving in the earth and that which moves over the earth. The Spirit in this instant is a divine feminine. Period. You must be born of the water and of the Spirit and accept a man or a womb man. It don't make no difference. Go back to honor the womb from whence he came out of eternity into time. The womb that travailed to get you from one dimension of life to another. Except you go back to the womb that you came through in the natural. You cannot be birthed from the womb of the Spirit. Except a man be born of the water here and of the Spirit. He cannot enter, didn't say heaven, the kingdom, the reign, the rule, the realm of God. He can practice religion and incantations, He can pray and sacrifice sincerely. This Nicodemus was sincere. He's a religious ruler. He's not just a Pharisee. He's a ruler among the Pharisees who notices that Yeshua and his followers have something they don't have. They are tied to Torah. They are tied to the laws. I ain't talking about the one Moses made even. All of these laws, they are tied to rabbinicalism. They are tied to all of it. But they notice that they don't have something that this God-man and his followers, male and female, did not have. You must be born of the water and of the Spirit. That's the only way that you can enter into the kingdom. Might I posit to you, sir, that there must be a return to the womb in the natural and the womb in the spirit, in order for us to exit the religion of the institution, the religion of the empire, the religion of the West, colonizing everything and taking everything. That in order to transcend it, in order to enter, not the kingdom that we equate with the church, they are not synonymous. In fact, they may be enemies of one another. But in order to enter into the kingdom, you must have a rebirthing of the water and of the Spirit. I think you have hit something, sir.
Wow.
When you say return to the womb.
You got to return to the room. In other words, even the promise that God had gave to Abraham cannot be fulfilled unless you go to the room. You know, the answer that I'm bringing to the earth is going to require Sarah's womb. I made you this promise, you know, but that divine masculine energy cannot be fulfilled without the divine feminine.
Cannot.
That's how it comes. That's how creation comes. When you take the divine masculine and the divine feminine together, boom, we have recreation, we have rebirth, we have renewal. So in other words, what I see crafting here is a transcendent idea of how to go, or the value of returning to the womb. Because you can just say it at one level. Well, what does that look like? What it looks like is, first of all, to give the womb honor.
Give the womb honor. Now, this is a Yeshua, according to John. Now, John is an apologetic. That's the last written gospel. It is the only gospel to make Jesus divine. It's an apologetic. All right. But even in John, you see this Yeshua saying the only way you can get this, Mr. Pharisee, Mr. Prophet, Mr. Ruler of the religious, is that you remove the ravishes of patriarchy from you and from this religion and from your assimilation to Rome, and you return to the honor of the womb that God used and occupied to get God's self here with your flesh wrapped around it. We understand this, Jeremiah. Before I formed you, in your mother's womb, I formed you there. I don't care about no eggs and sperm. I formed you in that womb. I did it.
Oh, wow.
I knew you before I formed you. How did I know you? Because I, in that womb, and blew my very essence in that womb. And you have the divine nature in you, that going in and humbling yourself to the collective actually brings the divine out of you. So our battle is not fighting using white male patriarchal energy. Our battle is again to go within. And our battle, as you said to me earlier, is for us to discern what is it that all of this is showing us. What should we discern that we may learn, that we may become a collective? It looks like a tall order because religion and patriarchy and anarchy and hierarchy, all them archies keep us separated and divided so that they can't curse us because they can't curse who God has blessed.
Hey,
But they sure can bamboozle us to curse ourselves.
Bishop, going back to the womb is the higher ground. I leave that alone.
Come on here. Don't leave it alone. Don't leave that alone.
We got to take the higher ground. And so while everybody else is squabbling and babbling, by taking the higher ground, we're taking the route that works, the route that transforms, the route that renews, the route that gives rebirth, the route that restores our rightful place in the earth by honoring the womb, by going back to the womb. You know, you want to really be born again? Go back to the womb. That's what you were saying. Go to the divine feminine. You know, you want to be born again? Go to the divine feminine. But we have demonized the divine feminine by calling it
apostle. Oh my. Oh my. Because when has birthing ever had a male bent to it? When has birthing ever been masculine?
Never.
So even being born of the spirit, we have missed the divine feminine even
missed
in
it.
that.
We
Lord,
missed it.
Amber.
We missed it. You know.
Oh my God.
You want true renewal? Go back to the divine feminine. That's the word he's telling us. This is the high ground that we in our African experience have to adopt. We can stay down there and squabble in the Colosseum of religious ideology and political ideology that's syncretized to the left and to the right and find ourselves exhausted and more stress and high blood pressure, or we can take the high ground. Let the enemy kill himself. We're going to focus on going back. We're going to focus on rebirth. The divine feminine is about rebirth. It is not a cult. It's a concept that we held on to before we came over these waters. Taking the high ground, I'm gonna give you a picture of it, was Gideon and his army took the high ground. The enemy was down there. They knew where the enemy was. We know where the enemy is. They took the high ground and they had a lamp at one end and a shofar on the other. And by God's instructions, they blow the horn, shine the light, surrounded the enemy, and their voices and their sounds echoed. And when the enemy woke up, when the enemy became woke, they start killing one another. I leave it alone. Enemy start taking their own kind out. I leave it alone. Take the high ground. Return to the divine feminine. Experience your rebirth and leave the squabble to the squabblers.
My. You've been watching the doctors on it. Jesus have mercy.
That's it. That's the high ground. Return to the divine feminine. Understand. You can't return to something unless you place value on it. Well, to place value on the womb, to place value on the divine feminine, you have got to discard anything negative that you've heard about the divine feminine. And look, I'm just telling you like it is. You're not going to be born again until you go back to your mother's womb. However you want to take that, it's not going to happen.
See, even Nicodemus was like,
huh?
I can't go back and get in there. He said, didn't I tell you, fool, not to marvel at what I'm saying to you? I can't get my big self back up in there. I told you, don't marvel at this. Don't stumble at this. You must be birthed, rebirthed, renewed,
Rebirth.
regenerated.
Oh, watch that. Watch that, Bishop. Rebirth. That means to be rebirthed. That means, and you hit it earlier, is to leave that whole patriarchal system. Is to
Mm,
leave, that Greco-Roman influence, to leave the zeitgeist of democracy and republicanism. To leave that, you must be rebirthed. I'm going to give you a different birth. I'm going to give you one that Rome can't give you. I'm going to give you one that Greece can't give you. I'm going to give you one that the oppressor can't give you. I'm going to give you something that you had in the beginning, and I'm going to take you back to what you had before. You must be born again. You got to go back and be rebirthed. So that is the answer. That's the answer. That's the answer to our transformation. We got to go back and be rebirthed. How? Through the divine feminine. Honor the womb that you came out of. And if that's hard for you to swallow, do what Dr. Brown said. Just meditate.
just get to breathing. Just get to breathing. Some of you, maybe very few, may have had this experience. It's a bit of a theophany and an epiphany. But I can recall in my early 30s, going back to school, was a 7-year dropout. 7-year dropout. Went back to school at the insistence of a prophetic word of my late father, Bishop James F. Brown, said, get your happy hips back in school and get out of that other school and take your hindparts to Virginia Union. With great trepidation, and I was grieved, but I did it. And I remember during those years in school, I'm like 30-ish, trying to go back and whatnot. And I had this thing, apostle, laying in my bed, renting a room from a very wealthy, oppressed Black woman who was oppressing me. And I had this thing where I saw myself go back like this. Looked like I was going back in time. I was going back through darkness. And I went back when I came to where I was like this in my mother's womb. And I saw the hand of God working in my mother's womb. I've been saved since I was a teenager. But it was not until I was 30 or 31 that I had a literal born again experience.
Yeah.
God took me back to my existence in the womb, and I could feel the hand of God in my mother's womb, who testifies that every time my uncle would come to our house, my daddy was in the army, away in the army. Every time my uncle would come to the house and put on jazz, I would be moving so hard, she would have to take the album cover and put on her stomach. And she kept saying, Lord, this baby moving so hard. There was something, oh God, in the sound of the jazz. There was a sound of the soul of my people. There was a sound of the suffering of my people, the expression, the soul expression of my people, that in the womb I didn't respond to gospel music that they played on the secular radio on Sunday. I responded to this music that was instrumental, that was the expression of generations of people's lived experiences here on this soil. And God took me back. When my mother told me that, I said, oh God, I saw myself in the womb. And so from there, I must honor the womb that birthed me into my purpose, that birthed me into caring for the souls and the psyche of my people. I didn't get called to that. I was created in it, and I was created for it. So even though I was saved from hell, and I said the white people sinner's prayer that ain't even biblical, because Jesus and John preached you must repent, for the kingdom of God, the rulership of God is at hand. The judgment of God is at hand. They ain't preaching no sinner's prayer. I said the sinner's prayer, I was just as sincere, and I got saved, but my born again experience took me back to the womb of the woman that birthed God in this manner, in this fashion, in this flesh, with all these freckles. That womb, I must still honor that womb. I must call it sacred. My mentor, Dr. Boykin Sanders, my Greek teacher, New Testament teacher, 80 years old now, said glory lies between the legs of a black woman. He
Oh,
wasn't
no.
being hypersexual. He was simply saying that this is where the glory of God is revealed. It comes from the unseen into the seen world. It comes from the eternal into time. And we cannot dishonor that. We cannot be dismissive of it. We cannot be disrespectful of it. We cannot make it secondary, but necessary. We can't do that no more, because without that, you can't be born of the Spirit. You got to return to both. And the birthing language is, period, feminine. This don't make God a woman. Just like you calling God him, don't make God a man. God is not a man. God is not a woman. But the energy of both the divine feminine and the divine masculine are blended into a mastery into God. It is that balance that we must seek. It is that blending that we must seek until we can decolonize ourselves, until our women and our men can be divorced and saved from patriarchy and hierarchy. We can be part of the church with our tongue talking selves. We can be part of the church with our Roman garment wearing selves. We can be part of the bishopric with our steal it from Roman or steal it from the Anglicans, wherever. We can be part of the institution. But without this, we cannot enter the kingdom of God. We got to transcend this.
Got to transit. You've been watching The Doctors Are In, and there's a lot of great comments, and we really thank you for those comments out there, because this is where we're going to go next week. We're going to go next week, unless Bishop, you want to say, unless we want to do something different, about honoring the womb. We got to give people steps on how to get into the divine feminine, because we got to disciple them. We got to educate them. We got to inform them. We got to show them the path as how to get there, and the value and the energy that's behind it, the power that's behind it. See, this is the high ground here. No one's expecting us to go there. They expect us to be down in the Coliseum. They expect us to be down there in the fight. That's what they expected. They expect us to squabble. Go down there and squabble. Be with, and that's what
the Coliseum is bloody. Come on.
It's bloody. And and the instruction is what he told Gideon: the enemy's down here. I want you to go up there. Go to higher ground. And I'm going to give you insight that's going to give you rescue. What's going to give us rescue is returning to the divine feminine. Is going through that birth canal and experiencing what the kingdom really is. The kingdom been waiting for you, but we've been so colonized we can't get to it. Our colonization is what? It is a trap. We're just in this prison. We're in this trap, and we just can't get out. We told to stay in here, and anything outside is not good. Look, the kingdom is beyond the trap, and you got to be born again to to break away from what has held you hostage for so very long. This is where we're going next week. We're going to revisit this idea of returning to the divine feminine. We're going to look at the primordial waters that we see there in the book of Genesis. We're going to look at other aspects of water that gives birth, the idea of water giving birth, and where God dwells, even in African spirituality. We're going to look at this woman at the well again, and maybe some other places, so we can really get our mind and have a conceptual understanding that will give us revelation of what the divine feminine is all about. Because it takes both the masculine and the feminine to work together in harmony to bring about creation. God said, I'm going to show you how I create. Let me bring let me bring forth from myself masculine and feminine energy. I'm going to show you how I do it. Now that's the kingdom. You've been watching. The doctors are in.
Ooh, Lord have mercy. I guess we'll see y'all next week. I don't know how this gonna go, but every time we be fighting it out before we get up here and carrying on, and then God gives us the revelation that goes beyond our knowledge, that goes beyond our intellect. This is the beauty of collaboration. This is even the beauty of a little bit of friction. You can't even reproduce without friction, y'all. This is the beauty of mutual respect. Yeah. So we're going to talk about this. So let me make sure I got it, Apostle.
Okay.
So we're going to try to do more to...
Abun. So I got Abun up here.
That's the Aramaic. That's Evangelist Andrea. So we're going to do more to try to conceptualize what the divine feminine is. We're going to revisit this returning to the womb. We're going to examine even those primordial waters in Genesis. We may look at the woman at the well. We may be able to also bring up some of our older ancient African spirituality, which made some of its way into the Bible and then kind of got whitewashed. But as we return, even in our spirituality, to the waters, and I think this is good. Honor your mother and your father, that your days will be long. We've been honoring. We honor mama, but as a life giver, and if she's a black mama, we might even be a little bit scared of her. But we still put the place of the woman beneath honor, because it's at the bottom of the patriarchal scale. That is the government. That is America and the West. That is colonized nations. That is the church. But that ain't the kingdom.
Next week.